Well, hello, my lovely listeners. Hello! This is a weird start to the episode, isn't it?
You've done this before, you know.
What? Just been weird at the start. I quite like being weird. This is episode 49, which means, yes, the next episode will be the big one, our 60th anniversary. Stay tuned for that one. But what have we got in episode 49? Let me have a look at the list. I'll have to scroll up a bit. Well, for some reason, the first segment's entitled Stairs. The next segment is Wales. We've got Jaguar F-Type. Well, I can't read that out because that's really rude. Something to do with art. Faraday Future, for God's sake. Dictionary Corner. And I've just come back from the Ford Focus launch as well, so I can tell you about what the new Ford Focus is like. So if you're interested in any of those things, keep listening to the podcast, because we're going to start the next segment after I've done this intro. And if you're not interested in any of those things, fuck off and listen to something else. So, Ben, I heard you caused an accident in a car park the other day.
I don't think I was quite involved, to be honest, Johnny.
You don't think you were?
No, so I was at Pets at Home at the till.
Oh, did you see any chinnies?
I did, yeah, there were loads of
Was there some chilies there?
Animals. Yeah.
Aww.
So I was just paying for some stuff, and I noticed out the corner of my eye there was basically two people standing at their car. They had like the driver and the passenger door open, and they're sort of standing in between the door and the car.
Was it me and King?
It could have been. And the car was idling, and then suddenly the car just jumped backwards and smashed into the car parked behind it.
Oh.
So I was trying to work out how the bloody hell that happened, because it almost knocked the driver and the passenger over because they weren't even in the car. It turns out, I think, that one of the kids was playing with a gear stick and rammed it into reverse. It just jolted back, and they were like, oh my God. The woman came out and had a look to check to see if it had hit, even though the almighty crash sort of gave it away. But why would you turn the engine on and then stand outside and let your kids playing around in there? It's absolutely ridiculous. But she then got back in the car, thought she was about to drive off, so I was like, right, I'm not having that. So I walked straight over to the car that she'd crashed into, the idea being that she'd think that's my car and then get out. But fortunately she then stepped out with a notepad, so I let her off. But I've seen it too often when people have like done that and then walked away. So I said to Emma, quick, get your phone, take a photo of her. But it wasn't necessary. They did the right thing. Saying that, they might have written a letter saying, ha, I crashed into your car. But, you know, I'm assuming it was...
So what you're saying, Ben, is that you took on the role of local sheriff.
Absolutely.
Strode out there, ready to have an argument with someone about something that had no relation to you whatsoever.
Absolutely.
You're a hero.
Yeah, he's a national treasure.
Like, if that had been your car, you'd have been pretty pissed off if you'd just come back and it had been crunched. Because it hit it with, you know, quite a bit of force.
I mean, if I crashed into your car, Ben, I'd definitely just go home.
Yeah, I'm sure you would.
Just go home laughing as well. I'd be so happy I'd spend the rest of the day celebrating. Probably.
So, why would you get in your car, start the engine, get out, presumably the handbrake wasn't on, and then you've left your kids in there playing around? It's just like a catalogue of errors.
When you say about the handbrake obviously not being on, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was one of these electric handbrakes, you know, the kid could just have pressed the button. Whereas obviously little kids, you'd like to think that a proper handbrake, they'd struggle to get off before they could even...
I mean, they could have pressed...
car in gear.
No, because you can't turn the automatic handbrake off without having the brake pedal depressed.
Yeah, you have to press the brake pedal at the same time.
Well, that's a good point.
Or engage the clutch and the accelerator. So as I say, I was racking my brains to try and work out how on earth that had happened, and that was because there's no one in the driver's seat, and I think that's the only way it could have happened, is somebody dropped it into reverse.
Unless it was an autonomous vehicle that became aware of itself,
yeah,
and tried to escape its human captors.
I mean, it was like a 15-year-old Corsa or something, so I don't think it was, but you never know.
Could have been a Transformer.
It might have been.
Isn't Transformers just the worst film ever, though? Just the worst. It's just completely unentertaining bollocks. It's just trash.
It's not entertaining enough.
It's not that bad.
No, it's a 2 out of 10 film, Transformers. All of the Transformer films are all the same. They're all 2 out of 10.
Have you watched any of them?
Yeah, I watched one of them, and that was enough.
So you haven't seen the new ones with Mark Wahlberg?
Oh. No, well, I don't want to.
Well, why not? It's got Mark Wahlberg in it.
I'd rather wipe my arse with sandpaper. than watch Transformers. It just looks awful.
Very strange.
In fact, the one I've seen was really awful as well. So fucking boring. The other day I watched Conan as well. That was unwatchable because that was shite.
What?
Yeah, that was shite.
Are you fucking mental?
It's got Ron Perlman in it, so I was getting excited. But then Ron Perlman just gets killed.
The new Conan with Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Not the original with Schwarzenegger.
No, it was unwatchable. It was
He had me worried then, Ben.
unbelievably boring.
He had me fucking worried.
Were you about to go all punchy on him, King?
Oh,
How dare you!
it's fine. We're okay.
He would have reversed his car into my car.
Both would have broken though, so...
Yeah, that would have been.
I'd just reverse into you, Johnny. I wouldn't worry about hitting your car. Johnny, can you stand between you and your car? Crunch.
That's a bit mean, Ben.
No.
Yeah, Ben.
I think you should go and fall down the fucking stairs. Where you belong.
Gosh. I'm going to buy a bungalow so you can't keep attacking me about it.
I like the idea that you might buy a bungalow just because I keep willing you to fall downstairs. Do you take the lift at work?
No, I don't.
Just wondering.
Just in the possible fear that you might be there, John. Ben gets the lift every day.
Yeah. Even though he only works on the second floor, he's always in the lift. You don't want to take the risk.
Good news is, Johnny, I work in quite a secure building, so there's no way you'd make it past the door.
All I have to do is wear a suit, act smug, and pretend that I'm important, and I'll get in. That's all your job is.
It's true, but I also have a couple of security passes. And I don't think you'd get through a door. You wouldn't work out the handle.
Actually, I do struggle with doors.
It depends if it's powered by electric or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't, though. That's the thing. I've had to call people out in hotels before because I haven't been able to open the door of my hotel rooms.
Well, when you've got to put the card in?
No, lock and key. I haven't been able to do it. It just hasn't worked. I've had to get reception out to come and help me open doors and stuff before.
Are you turning the key the wrong way?
I can't remember. But the thing is with doors...
Were you at the right room?
Yeah, it was the right one. The person came up the stairs and they just turned the key and it opened. But I was there for about 10 minutes trying to open the thing. And
Well,
also,
you did manage to break the shower in that travel lodge as well, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You said, the shower's knackered, but that's because you put the shower curtain on the outside of the bath.
I've never used the shower curtain.
Except every time you've been to my house.
Yeah, but that's already in place, isn't it?
Well, no, you still have to pull it.
That's already in like one position. All I have to do is just walk in around it.
It's not that complicated.
Yeah, so I don't know how doors work a lot. Well, I do know how doors work, but I've had a lot of problems with doors historically. Like whenever there's a door that doesn't have a push or a pull sign on it, or even sometimes if it does, I always do the opposite. Every single time. I don't know what it is. I just think there's some sort of demonic possession going on, and it's to do with doors.
I don't know if it's demonic, it might just be moronic.
Yeah, doors. Wait, how does this relate to the
car crash? Your life with doors is like a car crash.
Oh, well played. Well played. You're getting another voucher for that, though, Ben. I'm adding that to my list right now.
Deadliest Boot Spaces.
Deadliest boot space time, boys. Okay, what do we have here? We have... Okay, this is a bit tricky because I've done some large numbers today. So just give me a minute and I will say this correctly.
Okay.
The amount of piss produced in Wales each day, or 6,075 Citroen Berlingos.
You didn't explain the premise for anyone who hasn't heard this before.
No, but I figured that when, everybody knows about Deadliest Boot Spaces by now. Do they need me to explain it? 6 litres of water, if you drink it each day, will kill you.
Well, not each day, just in one go.
Alright, okay. 6 litres. If you drink 6 litres of water, you'll die, basically. And boot spaces are measured in litres. For some reason, that has led us to asking the question whether 6,075 Citroen Berlingos can hold the same amount of... Or no, I don't understand. Just pick one or the other.
So which is more deadly? So the amount that every person in Wales pisses a day?
This is the amount of piss produced by the population of Wales each day, using average information that I've obtained on Google.
Or 6,000 Belingos.
Against the verified total boot space of 6,075 Citroen Belingos, which is the bigger number, basically.
Well, that's a lot of people in Wales. Surely the Welsh people.
This segment has completely fallen apart since the early days. I don't even know what's going on anymore.
I remember the days when we used to compare a 4x4 with a 4x4.
Yeah. It's rubbish now. It's mostly about piss now. It is mostly about piss, and this one again is about piss. For some reason, I just like talking about piss. And I have calculated the amount of piss produced in Wales each day. And I've got a number, and then I've compared it to a load of Citroens. So, yeah.
I think the Welsh have got to be producing more. Or more deadly, if you drank that many people's piss.
Oh yeah, I should also explain to listeners that I haven't taken into account toxicity caused by the ingestion of piss. I am acting as if the population of Wales is pissing 100% Brecon still spring water, okay?
I'm just picturing pissing into the boot of a Berlingo and how many people it would take to fill one. Quite a few, but it's a lot of people. It's more than 6,000 people in Wales, so even if it took 20 or 30 people to fill a boot, I still think it's got to be the Welsh. Kingy, thoughts?
I mean, where do you even start? How many people are in Wales?
Well, you're going to have to work it out for yourself.
I used a figure from last year that said the Welsh population had grown by 14,000 people, which is a small number, really, isn't it?
So what did you choose, Ben?
The Welsh people.
It's got to be Wales, hasn't it? It can't not be Wales. So I've got to go with the Berlingos because Ben's picked Wales already.
Well, he's gone for a very specific number, so he's trying to wind us up somehow.
Yeah, it's got to be Wales.
I reckon that's only like 25% of it or something.
No, I reckon it's probably quite close because I think he's probably tried to get it quite close, or he's just picked a random number and divided it by something.
Yeah. Well, no, I always try and get them quite close, except for one or two, because if I get them close, it's easier for me to work it out, because I don't do numbers.
Well, precisely.
This has taken me about half an hour to do this morning. It's taken me about half an hour to work all of this out. It's been enormously difficult.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, so there are 3.1 million people in Wales, right? And on average, people piss between 800 and 2,000 mil a day.
Right.
So I added those two together, divided them by 2, and got 1.4 litres.
Yep, okay.
So that's 4.34 million litres of piss each day.
Yep.
Produced in Wales. Or, if you're Welsh, pess in Wales. So I then just had a look at Citroen Berlingos. So 6,075 Citroen Berlingos.
Yep.
Will give you 4.1 million litres of load space.
Okay. Well done, Ben.
So yeah, the Welsh produce more piss than 6,075 Citroen Berlingos can carry.
Good to know.
I think I misheard the numbers, so I thought I'd lost.
Oh, God. This is descending into farce.
Yeah, if you want to transport 4.1 million litres of piss, you can do it with 6,075 Citroen Berlingos.
How many deaths is that?
4.1 million litres? Or
either or, John. I'm not fussy.
It's fine, I can work it out. Okay, what? That one, and that one, divided by 6. Okay, so, if you drank the boot space of 6,075 Citroen Berlingos, you would die 683,333 times recurring.
Bugger.
You would be in an infinite spiral of death.
So how many Welsh people would die if you got the entire of the Welsh population to piss and then drink it?
Okay, so that is 4.
How many Welsh people would be left?
Hang on, how do you do 4.34 with numbers? 4.3.
What?
Then, I think...
Divided by 6.
I won that one, King.
So... Yeah, well done, Ben.
Well, there's 3.1 million people in Wales, right? And they produce 4.34 million litres of piss each day. If you collected all of that piss and made the Welsh drink it, 723,333 of them would die So you could wipe out a good
Not recommended,
third of
then.
the population of Wales. I don't think that is a third, but I can't do maths. By making them drink their own piss.
Wonderful.
Or pess, as they say in Wales.
Well, there
Or
we go.
Wales, as they say in Wales. So
Thanks
yeah,
for that,
there we
Johnny.
go.
4 on the bounce
Last
then, Ben.
place.
Insightful. Yeah, for the
Clawing
bounce.
it right
Don't mind
back.
this.
Yeah.
And if you think this segment has got ridiculous now, wait until you hear the next one.
God.
Ooh, I wonder what the score is. 7. To Benny. 8. To Kingy.
Right, I suppose I should tell you about how I got on with the Jaguar F-Type, shouldn't I?
2 litre.
2 litre. Yeah, didn't like it. Really, really didn't like it. It is one of the most disappointing cars I think I've driven that I can remember. Because the F-Type, you look at it and you think, yeah, don't you? That's the sort of feeling that it gives you, the yeah kind of feeling. And you're thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be good. Because it just looks so brilliant. How can it be disappointing? But it is. I'll tell you why it's disappointing. For a start, the handling isn't all that great. Apparently this is the best handling F-Type because, you know, it's lighter. There's not as much engine to cart around, so it's lighter, so it's better. I didn't find that at all. I thought it skipped laterally across the road when travelling between sort of 70, 80 mile an hour on a sort of, I guess you'd call it an A road, a wide A road with a fairly bumpy surface. It didn't feel stable at that sort of speed, to be honest. And it squirreled a lot under braking as well. Now, these sorts of problems might be something to do with a car rather than all Jaguar F-Type 2 litres, but I can only judge it on what I've been given. And that car gave me no confidence at all to drive at any sort of sporty kind of pace. Not that I would be going at much of a pace anyway, because the 2 litre engine is actually very flat and disappointing. I wasn't really expecting that, because a lot of 2 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engines now are actually quite good, or around that size, around that capacity, shall we say. We've seen them what do we drive in the Alpha 4C? We drove a 1.74 litre or something silly like that.
Yep.
That was quite good. The 2.3 litre in the Ford Focus RS and the Ford Mustang EcoBoost, quite good engines. The 2 litre Jag engine felt flat, it felt slightly asthmatic, and it seemed to run out of steam very, very quickly. And on top of that, part of the appeal of the F-Type is the great sound it makes. It doesn't make a good sound. In fact, it sounded more like a diesel in some places.
Ooh.
Yeah, really, really disappointing. I went out for a drive one night. I thought, yeah, I'll go out for a nice drive, and I came back inside half an hour
That's a bit odd.
All right.
because I was just not feeling it at all. Not fun to drive, not really involving, flat engine, poor handling, braking felt weird because of that sort of skipping around and the squirreling of the steering wheel. I had to really hold on to the steering wheel under braking, not even heavy braking either. I don't know if it was just that car or whether it's all Jaguar F-Type 2 litres, but it didn't feel good, and like I said, I can only judge it on what I'm given.
Yeah.
I can't just assume all the others are good. Furthermore, and this is something I found quite concerning, if you have a look on the internet at other F-Type 2 litre reviews, you might come across a review written by a major publication which gives it 4 stars out of 5 and then at the end admits it didn't drive it really above 50 miles an hour. Now, I don't know why that person decided to give it 4 stars out of 5 if they haven't driven it over 50 mile an hour. I don't know. Maybe they're just judging it on an under 50 mile an hour car. What I will say, on a cruise, this car is really good. I drove it to my new office at Synergy. Is 90 minutes away. I drove it to and from the office back. Really good cruiser, comfortable, 43 miles per gallon. That's good.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad at all for a sports car. Good sat-nav, nice gearbox, comfortable to cruise around in, lovely. I reckon as a convertible that would be a really nice car to just cruise around in and relax and just take in the scenery, do whatever you like. But it would be about 60 grand. Whether you think it's worth that much is up to you. The quality of the interior isn't as good as something from, say, Audi, BMW or Mercedes either.
60 grand's a lot, isn't it? You can do a lot with 60 grand. How does it compare to the better engines in the F-Type?
Do you remember we had the TTRS out?
Yeah.
And that was 400 horsepower, and it was about 71 grand, but it had a few
ridiculous options
massive options on it.
Yeah.
The TTRS was infinitely more fun and of a higher quality, and gave you a lot more confidence than that F-Type did.
So if you were going to get an F-Type, so that one's 60 odd, how much is the next, the decent engines?
I haven't checked. Do you want me to check now so we can have it in the recording?
Have a quick look.
I think it's not much more, to be honest, because I know from scratch the F-Type 2 litre is going to be about 50 grand.
Basically, if it's 50 grand for that, or 55 grand for the V8 or whatever it isn't the other engines, then it's obviously a
no-brainer. So just a quick look here. There's an F-Type R Dynamic V6 supercharged convertible for about 61.
Okay, so that seems like that's got to be the way forward, doesn't it?
Yeah, not much more.
Next model up.
Not much more. I've driven a V6S before, and I thought it was quite good. It might be that just this car has had a bit of a hard time recently, and perhaps hasn't responded too well to journalists driving it like an absolute pellet. But why they'd want to, I don't know, because it gives you absolutely nothing to be happy about when you do. So, I mean, it's fine. It's not. I'm not saying it's a bad car, because it obviously isn't. It's a £60,000 or 55. I can't remember the spec sheet now. It's an expensive Jag, so obviously it's not a bad car. It's just not good enough for my liking, and it disappointed me. It just left me feeling really, really disappointed, and I'm not afraid of saying, that it made me feel that way. And it makes me lose faith slightly in when I see other people reviewing it and giving it really good marks, and then admitting that they've not really driven it properly. That concerns me. And people can go out. I'm not going to sort of call out people who are, experienced professionals who probably have a lot more experience in the game than me. It's not my job to do that. But if people go and look at reviews of that car, they'll find it. Perhaps Jaguar did a launch or an event where there were no roads where you were capable of driving it over that number. That might be tactical on Jaguar's part. Or perhaps, the other way of looking at it is perhaps somebody just wants to do Jaguar a favour by giving them good marks. But Jaguar and Land Rover have suffered from quality control problems recently, in the last year or two. I think that's widely documented. I felt this car wasn't really overly impressive in any sort of way, really, apart from the fact it was a nice cruiser. As a convertible, I think, if you don't like driving fast and you just want to potter around and look really cool in something, you'll like it. But if you're any kind of enthusiast, you'll get nothing from that 2 litre at all.
Well, that's a shame. It's a shame. It's so disappointing, really. Especially if you go out for a drive in it and you're just not getting that thrill. That's for that sort of cost of car, you should be loving it, shouldn't you? Especially when it's a sports car. It's not like you were just going out in a people carrier.
Give me half the budget and I can probably find you half a dozen cars that are better to drive.
You could just buy a new MX-5 or a Fiat 124, couldn't you?
Well, this is the
or
thing.
two of them. If you want a 2 litre sports car.
2 litre sports car, yeah, they'll be more fun. If you want a 2 litre luxury sports car, it's difficult then, because there's not actually that many around. But I don't think the Jag should have a 2 litre engine anyway. I think it's a bit of an experiment, and I don't think it particularly works. But if you want a fun, involving 2 litre sports car to drive, yeah, MX-5, GT86, that's fine. But I mean, the people buying a Jaguar F-Type are not going to be the same people buying an Alfa Romeo 4C. And perhaps not even the same people buying a Porsche Cayman, Porsche Cayman 718. These are people who probably do want to drive at a slightly slower pace, and it, as that sort of car, it works. But if you're a really passionate enthusiast like I am, it won't do anything for you, I don't think. And I think for that money, it needs to have better quality inside, I would say. It doesn't match up to Audis, Mercedes, BMWs, these sorts of brands, and it needs to. But it's just disappointing. I'm really disappointed with it. I'm sure that I would probably like a lot of other Jaguar products, Range Rovers, Land Rovers, these sorts of cars. I probably like them because they're up there in terms of the quality and capability in that sort of segment. But I've driven a lot of sports cars in the last few years, and I felt the F-Type was a funny sort of car in a way, because I think it doesn't really know if it wants to be a muscle car or a sports car. I think with a V8 it probably behaves a lot like a muscle car. Big engine up front, sits down on the road and just catapults forward. And the 2 litre is where it's trying to sort of become a sports car and be lighter and more nimble and stuff, but it never ever feels like it wants to. It doesn't have any it doesn't give you any feedback about what's going on, apart from all of these concerning feelings where the car is skipping around across the road and squirreling under braking and stuff, and it just feels worrying when you're driving it, to be honest. But again, maybe it's the car. Don't know. But that was the car I was given, so that's the verdict I've come to. So you can read all about that on influx.co.uk sometime in July. But yeah, it's a disappointing car. Unless you just want something to cruise around in which case get the convertible version, enjoy the weather when it's here for 6 days a year, and potter about from A to B and get good miles per gallon. Or if you want something a lot more fun, fast, exciting, TTRS for me. This is Edge on Art. I know everything about art. I've been to the Louvre.
So for this episode of Jonny on Art, I have been very lazy because one of our listeners has kindly suggested a couple of bits of art to wind you up, Jonny. Wound me up as well, to be fair. So I'm going to share with you a couple of pieces. The first one, actually, I should say first, it's from one of our listeners called Chris Hughes. I was going to say,
mention the listener, Ben. God.
So
yeah,
thank
Ben.
you, Chris, for that. He's at CJHughes1987 on Twitter. And he has suggested two pieces of art. One is a bit of art that's currently floating in London.
Is it a poo?
It's not a poo. No, it's 7,506 barrels strapped together. There's serpentine sculpture, he said, by somebody called Christo.
That's not a real name, is it?
It doesn't appear to have a proper name, just one name. So he must be from Big Brother or something.
So is his surname Toe?
It could be Christo. That's true. Maybe I've misread it. So it's a 20-metre high sculpture floating in London's Serpentine Lake. So what do you make of this then, Jonny?
Well,
is that art?
Well, I haven't loaded it up yet because my computer's being slow.
Do you want a fun fact while you're waiting, John?
Yeah, go on, hit me with the fact.
Christo is Bulgarian.
So it might be a real name then.
And
Toe.
his full name is Christo Vladimirov Yavachev.
You know what this I don't want to call it a sculpture, it's just rubbish. It reminds me of a collection of pencils.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stacked pencils. You're not looking at the nib end here, you're looking at the rubber end. You know what? If that famous pencil company, Stedler, whatever they're called, if they made this with the famous black and yellow, a load of black and yellow pencils in a lake near a educational institute, that would be art, because you know what, that's saying something. This is just a collection of shit barrels stacked up, and if anything, it just spoils the landscape, doesn't it? Because you know what, when you're
7,506 barrels.
I wonder what that is in litres for Deadliest Boot Space, by the way. I reckon there's a lot of deaths in that.
Definitely.
But you know, when you're in a city, you want to go to the natural part of the city to escape the city for a bit, don't you? You want to see a bit of nature, some trees, you know, some ducks, some pesky little squirrels, you know, burgling someone, because you know that happens every now and then. That's hilarious. What you don't want to see is another piece of city that basically looks like, you know, an office block built by some architect who's trying to make a name for himself. It just spoils it. You know, it spoils that little piece of peace that you get in the middle of the city. And
it's 20 metres high, which is absurd. And he said it's self-funded and it's free to view by all. And it's like, that's nice of you. Sticking a 20-metre pile of
it's in the middle
barrels.
of fucking Hyde Park.
And actually, if you wouldn't pay people to look at that, because it doesn't say anything. It's just completely
Imagine the tourists
sterile.
coming to take a photo of the area. Oh, look at this lovely view of London. Oh, it's a whacking great pile of bloody barrels. Think of the ecological impact of that as well.
And on that note, if you, in the article that you've linked us to, if you scroll right to the very bottom picture on there, I mean, the reflection in the water kind of makes it look like oil has been spilled everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a visual effect rather than actual oil leaking.
Yeah,
I hope it is anyway.
It's probably intentional. But yeah, I don't want to see oil in the lake at Hyde Park.
Yeah.
Neither do I want to see a big stack of barrels. But I would get on board with that pencil idea, John. We should write to that lovely German company and see if they'll do it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool though, if you had a lake near a university or something and you stacked up a load of large pencils? That would be sort of art. This isn't art at all. It's just I mean, apparently Christo chose the colour scheme specifically to interact with the green and the blue of the public park in its lake. Did he fuck? Did he fuck?
It's mostly red with a smattering of pink and blue.
Oh, it's just...
I mean,
it's just such
which
a
is
waste
probably
of
right,
money.
actually. Having done a bit of colour coding, or whatever the phrase is, recently,
Oh, yeah.
with Ben for the new logo, apparently red and green do complement one another.
Well, I'm
Not
looking
when
at...
there's a 20
Well, I mean,
foot
this fucking
or
proves that
20
that's a
metre
load of bollocks, Ben. That's what
I
this
haven't,
is.
I haven't got anything complimentary to say about that, that's for sure.
Also, they've put 32 anchors in the lake, weighing 6 tons each to hold it in place, because it's 600 tons.
It's not
Now,
really
that to me-
floating then, is it?
Well, I mean, it is, but at the same time, if the ecological impact, those anchors are going to damage whatever's on the bottom of the surface of the lake, isn't it? That's just...
Yeah, but in London, that's probably just bodies.
It might be, but then, those bodies were food for somebody else, so,
Yeah, that's true. Like the sharks.
bugs. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sharks in that lake, I'm sure.
Is this just not the most London thing, though? Wasting a ton of money on something that looks utterly shite.
Well, apparently they didn't... It's like been donated by Christo. He's funded it himself, apparently. I don't know how he got it there, to be honest with you.
No,
I mean,
I
did he
don't.
build
I
it
think
there?
they've paid for that. They must have paid for that because unless Christo's a multi-millionaire and can ship a ton of fucking stupid barrels across from Bulgaria or wherever it is, he's got these barrels from the barrel shop. Christo, did you go to the barrel shop? Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you, Chris, for sending that in, because that's wound all of us up, I think. But you also
need
mentioned
a
something
shit.
else, which is...
Something else
was-
that gets us even more annoyed. Wait
Yeah,
till
so-
Johnny sees this.
I can't remember because I haven't got the tweet in front of me, but I think Chris said that he went to the Palace of Versailles and there was some art going on in there which pissed him off because it ruined it. Probably paraphrasing. So there was an exhibition of sculptures by Jeff Koons, and they're basically balloon animals, but enormous and brightly coloured. So Johnny, if you want to have a look at those pictures I've sent you as well. The first one is the picture of the artist.
Oh my
his balloon.
Christ! The fuck is that? Jesus Christ! What is wrong with these people? They're not artists.
I like the sculpture of Michael Jackson.
I
in
was
there as
just going to say that, yeah.
This is absolute garbage. I don't even want to talk about it.
Well, Ben and I can talk about it then.
well. Yeah, so they are literally like 6 foot high, I'd say, if not bigger.
Balloon animals.
And they're like bright pink and bright yellow and like sort of metallic looking things. And Michael Jackson randomly sitting there with bubbles. I think it's quite old, this one. I think it's about 10 years ago it was there. But if you were going into a nice palace like that and you wanted to take some photos or just to enjoy the culture and the ancient surroundings, and then you get a fucking great luminous blow up balloon animal, I mean,
But that's it. You're not even talking about a nice Paris. You're probably talking about one of the most iconic monuments in France.
yeah.
And it's all about decadence, luxury, just how much money the French royal family had. Gold everywhere. And then you've got these fucking shitty balloon animals destroying every photo opportunity that you've got when you're touring this magnificent palace. And then there's Michael Jackson and Bubbles.
It's just
What?
I mean, I love MJ,
It's
but that is
offensive.
not appropriate for there. And that's just mad. And he's basically gold and white in the colouring. It's
It
just
is.
like, it's just sickening.
It's offensive because Versailles was made by craftsmen and it took them millions of years to build. In fact, some people say that Versailles was starting to be made by the dinosaurs. And I actually believe them because it takes a long time to produce craftsmanship like that. The gilding, the sculpturing, the architecture, all of that. And then this guy called Jeff has come along and he stuffed it full of his... I don't want to call it art. I just want to call it parasitic bollocks, basically. And how he's got in the door at Versailles, putting that shit around everywhere, I don't know. But it is absolutely awful. And look at his smug face as well. That is the face of someone who goes, yeah, I'm shit, but look how much money I'm making. You know what? Fuck off. Just fuck off. Take your art somewhere else. I never want to see you ever again. And if you ever come on this podcast again, Jeff, I will stab you. I will stab you in the throat.
With a
Anyway,
balloon.
thank you. Yeah. So thank you, Chris Hughes, for
Fuck off,
sending
Jeff.
those suggestions. You've wound us all up. We were in quite good spirits before this.
I hate
So,
you, Chris. I actually went out for a work. I went out for a walk this morning, and I was feeling really happy. I went out for a walk It was sunny, it was bright, I walked past the river, got myself a nice coffee, I got a sausage roll, I had a chocolate orange flapjack, and then, what happens? Chris suggests I look at this stuff, and it's ruined my day. You're getting a voucher, Chris. You're getting a voucher, Chris.
Chris also said that he didn't like it. He was very clear.
But he's made me look at it. I don't want to look at it.
No, he hasn't made you look at it. Ben made you look at it.
Yeah,
well, Ben's definitely getting a voucher. Chris, I will think about whether you're going to get a voucher or not. But there is going to be some vouchers for this. Jeff, you're getting a whole fucking book of vouchers, son.
I think you should explain what these vouchers are, Jonny, because you keep mentioning vouchers, and I don't think you've ever given anyone any context.
No, I probably haven't, actually.
We'll just post some on Twitter.
Wait,
John,
where do I start?
If you post Ben's on Twitter when this podcast goes out, and then people will just know.
Okay. I just think they're an underutilised punishment system.
The voucher?
No, the what the voucher's for.
Yes.
And I think, they're everywhere. We should use them more as punishment systems, then people would stop being a prick. Like Jeff Koons, with his pricky art. By the way, I'd love to stick a prick in most of his art. Pop those fuckers.
You want to do what to his art?
I want to stick a prick in him.
So is that art?
It's just... I'm so angry.
Right, cool. Thanks for that, Jonny. We'll bring some more art for you next week for our 50th episode. I'm going to find something that's going to properly annoy you.
No, nothing will annoy me more than this. That is absolutely awful. That Michael Jackson sculpture is one of the worst things I've ever seen. One of the worst things I have ever seen. And think about what we had to study in history and stuff. Global conflicts. Things like that. Michael Jackson
Think about what
sculpture.
you saw in Folkestone.
Yeah, mountains of shit. Poo pyramids coming out of toilets in Folkestone Services, the worst service station ever. Fucking Folkestone. Don't even get me started on fucking Folkestone Services. Oh my god, go to hell, Folkestone. This is worse. This is worse. You know
Just
what?
remember Cornwall, John. Just remember Cornwall. In the Caterham.
Okay, he's going to jump out the window in a minute.
Yeah, but he can't give out any more vouchers then.
Oh, you're so angry.
No, I'm livid. I'm absolutely livid. I don't even know what to say. It's not art. It's not art. It's just someone pretending that they know about art by designing stuff that they think is going to be photogenic or Instagrammable, or someone's going to pay something to have it in their mansion. And for some reason, the French have let them host it in this iconic building. It's just an absolute fucking disgrace. Absolute fucking disgrace. You know what? I hope all the lorry drivers from Folkestone go there and shit all over it. I'm really upset now.
I'm going to upset you, Jonny, because
Again?
I've got some news about your favourite car company, Faraday Future. We talked about the fact that they were...
Even their fucking name annoys me, Ben. You don't have to even say any more. Even just hearing the name Faraway Future just pisses me off. Pointless car company. Money-grabbing bastards who have no intention of making a car. I was hoping this episode... when we started recording today, I was in a good mood, and I thought I'll just have a nice, relaxing episode where, I don't drop a C-bomb, where I don't start saying fuck every 5 seconds and getting upset about stuff. But you know what? It's happened, isn't it? It's happened. I feel like I'm in Folkestone again.
Well, so, we talked about them potentially getting some funding at the end of last year, and it was unclear whether they did or anything else. Well, apparently they have received 1.5 billion's worth of investment from a Hong Kong holding company, which is mad that someone's going to pay that. And they reckon they're on track to release their first car this year.
Nope.
Which is... going to production this year.
Nope.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, I'd like to think they will, because...
Nope. They won't.
They reckon they'll get 500 miles of charge on,
Yeah, and I've got a foot-long
in terms
penis.
of range. Yeah.
I mean, they're just making stuff up. They're just absolutely making stuff up.
So they reckon they've got patented technology which converts the power quicker, and it means you can charge quicker and all that. If any of that's true, that'd be fantastic. But it's all been talk so far, hasn't it? So I don't know.
Well, it's lies.
I'm hopeful, but
it's just like they're just making it up. If we are never going to see a Faraway Future car on the road. We're never going to see one on the road. It is never ever going to happen, ever. It is completely false. It's some sort of money laundering company, or some sort of illegal front to something else. And They haven't demonstrated any technology. They're making up figures that are just plucked out of thin air. It is all lies. It's baseless. It's probably illegal, and I just hate them. I just absolutely hate them, because there are people out there who are waiting for good electric cars to come along, and they read this and they lap it up. Like, oh yeah, this is going to be great, electric cars of the future and stuff. And in turn, this excitement leads on to general bashing of other cars and other technologies that we have in the current era. So this will lead on to things like bashing diesel, because soon we're going to have electric cars that can do 500 miles because some lying bastard somewhere have decided they can just make it up and show off a model of a car they've designed, which is probably made out of clay or something. I hate them. And you know what? I don't know of any way to contact this company. I don't think there's any PR information. I'll check right now. I don't think there's any PR information on these guys. I don't think there's anyone you can actually talk to. I don't think there's any names. I don't even know if there's any addresses. The whole thing reeks of just wrong, basically. And these numbers are all just made up. And I'm just, every time we mention them, I just get more and more pissed off. I just hope they just go fuck themselves, basically.
Oh, I've got a press contact for you, John.
Okay, what's their name?
John Schilling.
John Schilling. That sounds real, doesn't it?
press@ff.com. There you go. Drop them an email.
John Schilling. I wonder how many...
When Johnny gets sent a press car, he's going to have to eat his words. Apparently they have quite a few thousand reservations for the car, which is interesting.
Well, they would say
if I
that.
ever get sent a Faraway Future press car, I will drive it naked for a week.
I don't know if they'll agree to that.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll want that.
Yeah, that'll be pretty savage.
I'm trying to see if I can find a John Schilling on LinkedIn or something.
Schilling with a C. SCH.
Yeah.
Just-
Greater Los Angeles area.
Yep.
Interesting.
You've got him, yeah? Director of Public Relations and Communications?
Yeah, I've got him. Okay, so that's
previously a Volkswagen, Audi,
that's a
and
pretty
Nissan.
good PR contact.
Yep.
I might just get in touch with them and just ask them what they're actually doing, because I don't actually think there is anything in this at all.
They reckon that the cars will go on sale for about 150 grand. I'm not sure who's going to buy that. That's mad. You could get a bloody awesome hybrid for that money. Or dare I say it, a decent Tesla for less. That's madness.
They haven't invented a decent Tesla yet, though, have they?
Oh! Sick burn.
They haven't invented this car either.
Nope.
It's so far just
It's
pictures.
all bollocks. It's all bollocks, and it really upsets me.
So there we go. Anyway, I'm pleased to upset you because that was the point. So next time I see you think about Faraway Future, I'm going to bring it up and annoy you more.
You know what? In this podcast, I often like antagonise and play the villain and piss people off a bit, just for fun, because it is quite good fun being a bit villainous. But I'm the one who gets the most annoyed, and it's normally about something like this. I hate them. I really hate them. I've got a headache now.
You just take everything too seriously, John. That's the problem. You need to be footloose and fancy free like Ben and I.
Yeah.
But this, I can't even talk about it, because you know what, I'm just going to turn this podcast into another disgraceful Johnny Edge rant. People don't want to hear that anymore. They want to hear, nice, positive, upbeat Johnny, not Johnny bringing down the hammer of justice upon. I can't.
Johnny's Hammer of Justice.
What can I say? If anyone believes in Faraday Future, tweet us, and I will block you.
Kingy's Dictionary Corner. I love the etymology of words.
You absolute gorm.
Right then, Johnny, I've got just the thing to cheer you up.
I need cheering up.
Bring you out of this miserable malaise that you've found yourself in.
Ben's ruined my day.
Well, let me unruin it with Dictionary Corner.
I don't think that's going to work.
It already has. So, I've only got one word for today, John. And that's why I thought it would cheer you up. Just a nice, short episode of Dictionary Corner. So today's word is goon.
Goon.
Goon. Now,
A word
like
you
goon,
use
that's
quite
a good
regularly,
word.
King.
a word I do use quite regularly, normally to describe you pair.
Yeah.
But I know that it's a word that you enjoy as well, isn't it, John?
I like that word, yeah, that's a good word.
What's your understanding of the word goon, just before I get into it?
A goon is someone who's a bit stupid, aren't they? I think a goon is someone who's a bit stupid, and I often associate it with one of my favourite comedy films about the ice hockey player who just goes around having fights, which I can admit is a terrible film because it has that guy with the wide mouth on it.
Sean William
and
Scott.
He's a terrible actor. He can only play himself, but he is a goon. So casting him in that role, perfect, and that was good. I like people who start fights in ice hockey matches.
Wonderful. Have you seen the sequel?
Yeah, that was fucking awful. That was really bad. That wasn't even funny. That was just an absolute waste of time and effort. They should never have bothered. I mean, the first film was bad enough. They should never have even fucking made that.
What amazes me about both of them is that they've got respected actor Liev Schreiber to appear in, a secondary character role in both films. And, I mean, how he turned up for the sequel, I have no idea. But anyway, so, goon, back to it, the word. Now, you're absolutely right. It does basically mean someone who's stupid. But it originates from the term goonie, which was a phrase used by sailors back in the 18th and 19th centuries to describe any sort of large birds, like an albatross, which was clumsy. So it started off as a term for a clumsy bird, and then it developed into meaning a sort of clumsy or a stupid, sort of an oafish person, essentially.
Yeah.
And then as time progressed in sort of the mid-20th century, it became a word used to refer to someone who was a thug, so, a henchman. So quite often in movies that have gangsters and whatnot, their henchmen we refer to as hired goons. And that was a sort of progression again of the word. But yeah, so you're absolutely right. Goon is a term for a stupid, sort of oafish person. However, there are some other good uses for it. So as you rightly said, in ice hockey, it's an enforcer in the game who just goes on to start fights, which is always good value.
Love those guys. Did I tell you that I still keep up to date with the Boston Bruins because I once saw a video of them in the 1960s in the crowd, fighting the crowd, and one of the guys had taken off one of the members of the crowd's shoe and was beating him with it. And that is why I took to that team. Because a team that can get in the crowd and start beating the crowd up, that's a team you want to back right there, isn't it?
So this makes me wonder why you're not a fan of Man United and Cantona, because he's done virtually that.
Yeah, but Cantona was overrated to the extreme. I mean, he didn't do anything with his career apart from win a couple of titles with United and then retire.
And Leeds.
So overrated.
He won the championship with Leeds before moving to United.
We've all won the championship with Leeds, King.
Alright, fine.
Jesus Christ. Show me a proper footballer, not Eric Cantona. Average player who just happened to fit in at the right time with a bunch of other average fucking wankers at Man United.
Anyway,
shit team.
Getting back to goon, it was also popular POW slang during the Second World War, British POW slang, and it referred to any German guard in a prisoner of war camp. You'll notice it if you watch something like The Great Escape. They talk about the goons being the guards. But here's one for you, John. The Australians use it as another term. Well, it's slang for a flagon. So you could say a goon would be like a flagon or a cask of wine, for instance.
I'll have a bloody goon of that, please.
Or sometimes it can also be used to refer to a sort of a cheap or inferior cask wine. So if you were getting some shit wine, it'd be like, oh, look at this goon wine.
That's good knowledge.
How do you explain the Goonies?
The Goonies?
That's just a fucking film, Ben. Jesus Christ. Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
He's trying to ruin it, isn't he, King?
Precisely that. I mean, I'll be quite honest, Ben. It's a film that I don't like.
You're not a fan?
Shit
No.
film.
I haven't seen it in such a long time. I was a fan in the old days then.
No, I got no time for it.
Waste of time.
Fair enough.
People rave about it, and I like a lot of other films
Toilet
from that period, but I just don't get the whole thing about the Goonies. People are
film.
obsessed with it, but I don't see it.
Fair enough.
I'd like to go back in time and kill everyone who appeared on it.
It's a bit harsh.
Yeah, come on, that includes
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin, yeah. You want to kill Josh Brolin?
And the other chap whose name I forget, who was in Lord of the Rings and Stranger Things and all that.
Gimli.
Oh, the guy who played Sam.
Yeah.
Gimli.
No, not fucking Gimli. And not Gandalf before you say it either.
What is his name?
Gandalf.
Sean Astin.
That's it. Sean Astin. Yeah, see?
Wasn't Stranger Things good though? That was a good show, wasn't it?
Exceptional. Have you seen the second season as well, John?
Yeah, I've seen both. They're really good.
Yeah, really good.
I like the intro music as well. Good intro music.
No, exceptional television, actually.
A good show all round, actually.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the third season of that. Maybe Ben wants to ask another stupid question now. Ben, any other stupid questions you got, Ben?
Yeah, got any more definitions for us, Geeky?
Yeah, have you got any more, King? That's a good question, actually.
Any more uses?
The only other one is Goon Squad, which refers to a group of enforcers or bodyguards.
Ben's friends.
Well, quite possibly. You know, being a banker, he would probably have a goon squad to do his dirty work
Goon
for
squad.
him. So.
Yeah. Right, I'm clearing you guys out of £4 million today. me and the boys here.
So yeah, that's a predominantly US phrasing. So well done for slipping into that appalling accent that you just did. Then
I thought that was a good accent. Actually.
It was. I enjoyed it.
I should have acted in Time Stain.
You should have done.
I should have directed it, written it, and starred in it.
Maybe if you write a scene that's set in 1920s Chicago,
Boy,
then,
Chicago.
you can come in and go, "Hello, boys."
Hey, Joey Two Thumbs. They call him Joey Two Thumbs. They've all got names like that, haven't they?
You're gonna end up in the drink, see?
See, we could do a 20s gangster film, couldn't we?
We definitely could.
Maybe at one point in Time Stain, they fall back through a time stain into 1920s Chicago.
It could be like the holodeck on Star Trek. The same principle.
How does that work?
No, the same principle. So obviously, like
Oh, yeah.
Picard and the gang would travel to old-timey times, such as 1920s US of A.
Just for fun.
Yeah, so that we could apply the same thing in Time Stain. Brilliant.
I like that, because then the time stain agents could get practice travelling back in time without having to actually.
And they could have the informal nickname of the Goon Squad.
They could.
Oh, God.
Boom.
This movie is really coming together.
It's going to be amazing. Watch out, listeners, in cinemas 2024.
Yeah, well.
Too ambitious?
Yeah, that's probably sensible, because it takes a couple of years to make a film, doesn't it?
It does.
And Ben's only got his GoPro as well. we know how slow he is when he's filming our videos, wandering around going, just have to tie this on here, this bit on. Just gonna have to put this case on.
Doesn't help when you're dicking around trying to do handbrake turns and things. I'm trying to set the camera up.
This is really gonna help, just in case, okay. Yeah, that's basically how Time Stain's gonna be filmed.
Slowly.
Fucking Ben Spielberg sat on his chair with his shoelace tied to his camera.
Good.
Get down the stairs, Ben. Get down the stairs.
So wonderful. There we go.
Thanks for cheering me up, though, King. I do feel a bit happier now.
That's all right. I thought you might, John.
Good.
Yeah, I feel like I might be able to get on with my day now.
Good.
Whereas
now let's fucking ruin that.
Well, now that King has cheered me up and I'm in a slightly better mood, after Ben and Chris from Twitter tried to ruin
Don't think about it, John. Don't think about it.
Yeah, you're right.
Stay positive.
Got to move on. I've just got back from France because we've been out driving the new Ford Focus. Ooh. So that's quite important because the Ford Focus, over its 20-year lifespan, has sold 2 million cars in the UK, and it's the second most popular car of the last 2 decades, only behind, the Ford Fiesta. So, look at Ford on top of the podium there, sharing first and second place, almost like Schumacher and Barrichello back in the early 2000s. So, what is the new Ford Focus any good? Yes, much, much better. The last Ford Focus wasn't perfect. It had, slightly disappointing interior, bad automatic gearbox, not much room in the back, like headroom wise, I'm thinking. All of those things have been improved upon now. For a start, there is a new 8-speed automatic gearbox, and it's really, really good. It's much more like something you'll find in a Volkswagen or a BMW now. Perhaps not quite as quick shifting as the BMW's 8-speed gearbox, but a very, very good automatic gearbox nonetheless. And we tried it out on some really difficult roads in the mountains of southern France, which I don't know where it was exactly, but the roads were fucking horrendous anyway, because they were sort of, well, for a gearbox, we enjoyed them because we could go around corners quickly and drive and test handling and stuff. So that was fun. But you wouldn't want to drive down them every day, put it that way. But they responded really well, quick. It was decisive with its changes. It sort of knew what it needed when, and it's a gearbox that learns from the driver as well. So when it's not being driven by mad motoring journalists, it will be driven by normal people, and the gearbox will learn to adapt to the person who drives the car, and that would just improve its response and efficiency as time goes by, in theory. There's also two significant new engines that I really want to talk about. One is the 1.5 3-cylinder EcoBoost engine, which has, this is sort of a detuned version of the one you find in the new Ford Fiesta ST. So it's got around 180 horsepower. It's 3 cylinders, and it has cylinder deactivation technology, so it can run on 2 cylinders seamlessly when you're not gunning it.
That's impressive.
And you don't even notice. That's the thing. So it's a very, very small engine. So 500mm each cylinder, turbocharged, 180 horsepower. It's really good. And it can deactivate. So it's a really promising engine. Like, I want to get it in the UK to give it a proper test, see what efficiency comes out as and stuff like that. But it was fun. It was sprightly. It makes quite an entertaining noise. It was really good, and we tried it in the new Focus ST line, which has a new suspension, basically, a slightly lower suspension than what you might get on a Titanium or a Vignale, and it's a much more balanced car now. The communication between the front and rear of the car is really good, and it just flows around corners really nicely. I think this is the best handling car in the class now, especially for people who really like driving. It's a really vastly improved product overall. Anyway, second engine, before I start going off on one about how much better it is than a Volkswagen Golf. The second engine is the 1.5 diesel. This is a really good engine as well, 125 horsepower, something like that, I think. So, not loads of power there, but it sounds really good for a diesel. It's really sort of smooth, and it doesn't get, when you get up to the higher sort of range of the revs, it doesn't make that horrible diesel, oh my god, I'm going to explode noise, because it doesn't like to be revved a little bit. It's fine all the way through. It's really, really impressive. And it makes up for the fact it's got not tons of horsepower by having decent low down torque, which is what a diesel should. And it coped with the mountains really, really well. We were going up the mountains by that point as well. Really, really good engine. That really impressed with that. So yeah, should you buy one over a Volkswagen Golf? Yes, I think you should. It's cheaper for a start. It looks better, it has more character, it's more fun to drive. The interior has been much improved upon, so it's a lot nicer inside now. There's a few different flavours you can have your Focus in. There's Vignale, the sort of luxury trim. There will be Z-Tech and Z-Tech S lower down, I think, but we didn't drive them, so I'm not worried about them. So we've got Vignale, Titanium, which is kind of a normal kind of Focus trim, I suppose, and ST line, which is probably the best if you want to drive at some pace, shall we say. Much better car overall, really well finished and put together. Improvements have been made where improvements needed to be made, and that's the most important thing, I think, when going forward with a car. Is this the best car in its segment? It could be. It genuinely could be. I think it could well be better than a Golf now. We'll have to wait and see what it's like in Britain before we find out, I suppose. But what a start it's made. Really, really promising start, and I'm looking forward to driving it more in our own backyard, where the tests really matter.
That sounds good overall. I think one of my issues I've always had with Fords is that the interior is quite busy, especially sort of the entertainment system and stuff. So has that been sort of cleaned up a bit? And
yeah, there's much less buttons now, but the problem with the last Focus was just how dark the interior was as well. There was a vast amount of just black plastic space in there, but there didn't seem to be really anything. And it was just a huge black plastic dashboard. It was dominating, and it was dark, and it wasn't very good quality either. But there's it's much better now. There's less buttons. There's a larger touchscreen if you've got the trim level that gives you the larger touchscreen, or you've specified the option for it. Of course, there's even a heads-up display in the new Focus you can have. So that's quite exciting. And there's like pothole detection systems and stuff. I'm going to write an article for Synergy at some point, explaining 5 or 6 key differences between the old one and the new one, and perhaps why you should really consider the new one if you've ever had like a Golf or a Civic or a Mazda 3, something like that. It's a very, very good car, and the last one was good as well, but this one's even better. So Yeah, I think it's going to be another massive seller for Ford. But yeah, I always try not to review a car driving abroad because it's one of the first ones to be made, and I want to see what it's like in Britain before I really make my mind up.
And when is it going to be released?
Deliveries start in September, so
Okay.
as far as
So
I
not
know,
long.
you can start ordering one now if you wanted to. If you did, I don't think you'd regret it. I think it's a really, really good car. My choice would probably be the 1.5 diesel, and I don't often like diesels.
Okay.
But that is a very, very good engine. You've got the EcoBoost, the new 1.5 EcoBoost, and you've got the 1 litre EcoBoost still as well. Both very, very good engines.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 litre EcoBoost has won a ton of awards. And I think I would now have the automatic as well over the manual.
Okay.
Ford manuals are really, really good. They've got a new manual gearbox in this, which I think is probably just as good as the other one. I would have said it's hard to measure them without feeling them back to back, but it still feels fine, to be honest. But the new automatic was really good, and it was quite nice to drive a Ford with a good automatic gearbox, which is something I've not really experienced before. And it allowed me to keep my hands on the wheel more and enjoy driving, without having to take my hands off the wheel a bit more. So yeah, really, really good car. Can't wait to drive it in the UK. I think it's going to be a really good seller. So yeah, well done, Ford. You've done it again. Smug bastards that you are.
Are they smug?
No, not really. But you know what? They could have messed it up because that new Focus is completely new. I think the German chap in charge, I think only a few bolts and screws or whatever they are been maintained. The rest of it is completely new platform, new body, everything. So it could have gone wrong, but it didn't. They've really done a great job on it, and yeah, I think people are going to really warm to it when it arrives. And here endeth the podcast, basically. So yeah, that was a wild ride, wasn't it? We started off happy, we went sad, and then we got back to being happy again via the word goon. Good word. Yep, for our complaints department, forward all complaints. Well, don't actually, we don't have one. We don't care either. Tweet us at Smooth Traffic if you want to tweet us for some reason. All the subscribe things. You don't need me to tell you what they are, because if you see the podcast and you want to keep listening to it, press a subscribe button. That will be somewhere in the area of the podcast. And yeah, just support us, please.
Financially.
If you like us. Yeah, especially if you've got loads of money and you don't need it all. Just give some to us. We'll make use of it. Probably won't spend it on the podcast. I mean, we might make a movie from it. Yeah, we might make the movie Time Stain. We'll see, won't we? I'll tell you what. Give us a load of money and we'll see what happens. We might just blow it all on pizza and booze, but at the same time, we might make a film out of it. So yeah.
Well, we'll make a film out of us sitting down eating pizza and booze, if you like.
That's true. And at some point, we've really got to start talking about King's food challenges as well, because there's been a lot of big talk recently, and I personally would like to see King back that talk up, because at the moment he's been a little bit like one of those boxers who talks a lot and then ducks out of the big fight. So
when have I ducked out? I keep saying we'll do that next time we see each other, and we never fucking see each other.
Yeah.
Because someone moved to the fucking north. I'm starving down here.
Well,
I'm absolutely starving.
I think there's a lot of bravado going on here, and I don't think King could perhaps handle some of the challenges that have been laid down. But
it's just milkshake, and they're just nuggets, John.
Hopefully, we'll find out soon if King can indeed munch his way through as many nuggers as possible. But yeah, there we go. Hopefully, in the next episode, we'll talk about chicken nuggets. That's something to look forward to, isn't it? Yeah, do all the subscribes, give us tons of money, and yeah, thanks for listening. I don't know why you do, but yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Let's have a sandwich. I'm hungry.